podcast that Dusty wished he worked for instead of this show, so he always bitches stories from it. We're ranking quarterbacks by division on that said Move the Sticks podcast. When they got to the NFC North, Jeremiah picked Caleb Williams as the worst in the division. Wow. Take a listen.
Jared Goff is 1 for me. I have Jordan Love 2. I have Sam Darnold 3, Caleb Williams 4. And that's just, I mean, look, that's just because I think it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period with Caleb. And then I think that, he's got a chance. Sky's the limit.
Okay. With respect, unless the adjustment period is he decides to play the first half of the season left-handed, he is going to be better than Sam Darnold. So, Brew, I ask you, more likely, Caleb Williams is the best or the worst quarterback in a division that currently has Sam Darnold as a starting quarterback?
Well, look, I agree with you that he won't be the worst.
Well, that's not the...
If the three, I would have Love and Goff, however you want to have them, as 1 and 2, and I'd have Caleb 3. And Darnold / J.J. McCarthy, whoever ends up playing the most there in Minnesota. But I think this is the thinking. So my answer is he's more likely to be worst.
Okay.
I don't see him being better than Love and Goff this year. Now, I think eventually, as Jeremiah said, sky's the limit. But this year, I do think he's going to have some growing pains. I mean, he's going to have to get on schedule. I think he's going to realize his athleticism that bailed him out a lot and was great in college is not going to be the same in the NFL because just faster, bigger guys and stuff. So I think there will be an adjustment period. And I'm guessing, and Bucky Brooks didn't even push back a ton on that, at least from what we saw. I'm guessing their thought is this. Darnold, after a year with Shanahan in San Francisco, and J.J. McCarthy, because that's kind of the type of quarterback he is, can paint by numbers in Kevin O'Connell's system. He's O'Connell's a Shanahan type guy. Yeah, I mean, Darnold's been bad, all right? But I think that's the only justification for me is that they can go in there and do what they're told in O'Connell's system. But no, I would put him 3rd. But the question, more likely to be the worst. I don't see him being the best in this division this year.
It's not likely. It's a good division. But it is more likely that he's the best than the worst because it's off the board that he's going to be the worst. So like Jared,
is it?
Yes.
Yeah, so Jared Goff, the last 2 years has been very good. Back-to-back 4,400-yard seasons, 29 touchdowns, 30 touchdowns. But we've seen Jared Goff have big regression before.
We've seen Goff be awful.
And if they have a few injuries to their offensive line, his numbers plummet if he's under pressure. So in a less-than-ideal situation, obviously Goff can regress. Jordan Love last year, 4,200 yards, 31 touchdowns, was excellent. But it's a small sample. They're very young. Obviously, he could regress.
You can keep going. Just show my Jordan Love graphic while Danny keeps going. Because Jordan Love, it was really not a great season. It was a brilliant second half of a season.
But so brilliant that overall
ascending
the stats
is what I said.
look good.
No, I understand. My point is, we talk about the Jordan Love sample is actually a very small one as well. Because it's you know what I mean? It is not even just one full season where he's looked awesome. It is a half season where he's looked awesome.
And a playoff game.
One great playoff game and one really poor playoff game.
Would you agree, though, the fact that he's older, whether it's by age or not, but that he sat for 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers, that helps him.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, he hadn't played a ton, but he's experienced and sat,
no doubt
behind
about
it.
How I put it was like Goff, stable, but we've seen him fall off. Love, impressive, and ascending.
It's not that common that Goff falls off, though.
No, but we've seen it happen once before, and his numbers when under pressure are bad.
Under pressure,
and so, like, if that offensive line suffered injuries, I think it's in play that he regresses. Can we put up Sam Darnold's best season ever?
Okay, please. I'd love to.
This is the best season of his
I thought
career.
You were gonna show something at USC.
Yeah, well, that would have been funny. But I mean, 19 touchdowns, 13
better than
picks.
I thought.
But he's got 7 years in the league. That's the best season he's ever had. I will be floored if Caleb's worse than that.
And here's
that's his best year.
So I agree with almost everything you said. So I think that we know what Jared Goff is. When he is protected, he's a very solid B+, A-. And when he's pressured, it's a train wreck. And so I think we know I can't say he has a high floor because the floor falls out if the protection's not there. But we know he's, even under the most ideal circumstances, he's not spectacular. He's not Jared Goff. He can be.
But you said A-.
A-, yeah. I think under these circumstances,
Super Bowl.
No doubt. And
Yes.
and by the way, he has great circumstances. We talked about in the previous segment in Detroit with the offensive line, the weapons, all of it. I think Jordan Love is potentially going to be excellent. I think that we need to pump the brakes a bit just because it is. In my opinion, C.J. Stroud has almost doubled the sample of good football, great football, and C.J. Stroud's played 1 year. But that brings me to the other point as to why I think he can be the best. This idea that rookie quarterbacks don't succeed immediately is somewhat anachronistic. A lot of them do these days. Not all of them, but Stroud, Herbert, as far as getting close to their ceiling or being excellent early. Dak, Russ, Luck, RG3, Baker, his first year was as good as statistically, basically in the year he's had. Cam was excellent his first year. Ben, that's 9 guys in the last 10, 11 years. I guess Ben goes further back, but take Ben out of it.
And none in this good of a situation.
None in this good of a situation. It is, yes, there are. Peyton Manning, his first year famously threw 31 picks. I understand. And we do. Josh Allen, his rookie year was brutal, and by year 3 was excellent. I'm not saying it's across the board, but there was a period of time where it was like rookie quarterback is going to be brutal, even if they're going to be great, unless his name's Dan Marino. Recent history, that's not the case. So I think Caleb, under this circumstance, Stroud is the comp where they won 10 games, probably could have won if he didn't get hurt 11 or 12. Look at the weapons situation, because I'll take what Caleb has.
He's got.
The one thing that I really want to point out, though, Stroud has an elite offensive coordinator. That is a major, major factor at play. Make no mistake about it. The Texans OC will get will get a head coaching job sooner than later. It's not to say that the Chicago Bears have a terrible OC or a bad OC. I know everyone wants to point to what he did with Geno Smith in Seattle, but it's nowhere near at the level as the quality of OC that the Texans have. But that's not to say that Caleb Williams isn't going to play poorly or not be able to be great or play as good as C.J. Stroud, but you just can't overlook the importance of a great OC or a great offensive head coach, which both those teams don't have, in terms of offensive head coaches. And so it all comes down to the OC. When you have a young rookie quarterback, the OC is like their god, essentially. I mean, he is the one that is doing everything to set that player up for success. So to me, the CJ Stroud does not have that season without the OC that they have. He just doesn't. If he had any old other OC, if he had the Eagles OC, for instance, CJ Stroud is not balling out like he did. It's really that cut and dry for me. There was a reason why it took a couple of years for Josh Allen to get going, because he didn't have a good OC until Brian Daboll got there, who actually knew what to do offensively. And then things quickly changed just like that. So same thing with Jalen Hurts. And many, many other quarterbacks. So to me, it's not the roster that's the issue. It's the question mark of the offensive coordinator and what they can do with Caleb Williams. We know that they can bring a kind of average quarterback into a good quarterback, but can they turn a good quarterback into a great or elite quarterback, which are just two very, very different skill sets.
Great weapon.
And we thought Stroud was in a good situation from a weapons perspective. This is a better situation. And he's not going to a 3-win team like Stroud was, or a 2-win team, however many games they won. He's going to a 7-win team. So, I think he absolutely could be the best quarterback in the division.
I will be stunned. And I don't like Caleb as much as you, but I like him a lot. I'll be stunned if he has a C.J. Stroud season.
Really?
Stunned. Yes.
So
I don't think that happens that often. I know you mentioned some quarterbacks, and they did have great years, but I don't think it happens that often. I think they're going to be growing pains.
See, I don't know why he can't do what Justin Herbert did. And I understand Herbert.
That
I think that year they won 8 or 9.
Shocked us with how good he was right away.
Yeah, and the other guy I'll bring up is Dak. Now, Dak, they had Zeke, and Zeke was excellent, but Dak that year
was a game manager.
Was a game manager. But this is... We're gonna have
Trevor's had, and even if you throw out the Urban Meyer year, Trevor has yet in 3 years to have a great
season.
Year.
That's true. I think that Caleb is going to Everyone talks about adjusting to the NFL. I think one of the positive adjustments is going to be, for the first time, it's like, oh, I don't have to be Superman.
Correct.
Oh, I don't have to play every drive. Like, if we don't get a touchdown, we're going to lose the game. So I think he will throttle back somewhat. We'll see.
Well, and I think that's one of the questions. Like, you've been Superman your whole life.
Yep.
Can you throttle it back? I think eventually he'll learn to, but I think that's going to be part of the adjustment.
JJ.
Okay. So, listen, I think, to me, the question is the wrong question, because how are we defining who's the best or worst quarterback in the division? Because I could see Caleb Williams doing, like, are we just doing it just based off of statistics? Because you guys all know I don't live and die by statistics. But I could see Caleb Williams putting up way more total yards than any of the other quarterbacks, but maybe having a few more interceptions, right? Way more touchdowns, let's say Jared Goff, but a few more interceptions. I could see, like I could do all these other various permutations. I could see Caleb Williams have more touchdowns, less interceptions, but a lower passer rating. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, how are we defining who is the best quarterback? Because I could see it being where Jordan Love has one of the metrics, has one of the best metrics, and Jared Goff has one of the best metrics, and Caleb Williams has one of the best metrics, right? One has the most touchdowns, one has the most passing yards, one has the best passer rating, right? One has the better completion percentage, one has a better pass per attempt, yards per attempt. Like you know what I mean? Like I think it's just it can be a mixed bag, because all three of those quarterbacks have great teams and have a great offensive weapons and good to great to elite offensive coaching staff, whether it be the OC or the head coach himself. So I just think that it's to just say best, this is to me the better question. And I always say this because I don't rank quarterbacks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The question to me is, can Caleb Williams, is he more likely to prove that he is in the tier or the group of Jordan Love and Jared Goff? Or is it more likely to prove that he's not in that tier, that he's not as good as them? And I think the answer to that question is he proves to be in the same category as Jordan Love, Jared Goff, and many other quarterbacks for that matter. I think this season Caleb Williams proves that he already is worthy of a $55-60 million contract, right? Like, I think Jordan Love will probably get signed this offseason. We already know Jared Goff got his like $55 million contract and all that. Now it's going to start to eventually be like 60, 65. And I think this season, what's more likely to happen is that Caleb Williams proves to be worthy already of that contract. And I think it'll be funny because they'll probably have a segment like that, right? It'll be like week 8 or something, or maybe at the end of the offseason, at the end of the season, and they'll say, has Caleb proved to already be a $65 million contract? If the Chicago Bears could extend Caleb Williams right now, should they do it? Just because they need something to talk about. And to me, I think that's honestly, as silly of a question as it is, it's a better question than what's more likely, him to be the best or the worst in the division. Because again, I always say this, and it just bears repeating again and again and again. These are all quarterbacks coming from completely different rosters, with completely different skill sets, with completely different coaches. So to me, ranking them is just silly to me. And these quarterbacks also have very different strengths and weaknesses. Jared Goff is a wildly different quarterback than a Caleb Williams, than a Jordan Love. So it just doesn't make sense to me. But I think that Caleb Williams will absolutely prove to be in the position to be as good and potentially honestly better than Jared Goff and Jordan Love. I do think that's completely on the board. I really do. But Caleb will also have some growing pains, just like Jordan Love did, just like Jared Goff did, just like many quarterbacks do. I mean, think about it. We talk about CJ Stroud having an unbelievable year, but the truth is he also had his share of growing pains. He also did nothing in the playoffs against the Ravens. Like, because, Nick wants to point that out about Jordan Love, and it's like, well, point that out then for CJ Stroud, because he played great against the Browns and then did nothing against the Ravens. So I just think that it's unfair expectations to just heap on Caleb Williams. Because the reason why I also take issue with this question is because then if Caleb Williams doesn't surpass Jared Goff and Jordan Love his rookie year immediately in this very difficult division, then that's somehow like a failure. Or that Caleb Williams will then be seen as, see, he's not even as good as those quarterbacks. Told you he shouldn't be drafted number 1. And I don't think that's fair. So, but like I said, I think it's more likely that Caleb proves to be a quarterback in that tier, right? I don't think he proves to be in the Mahomes tier and the Josh Allen tier that first year, because neither did CJ Stroud, but I think Caleb Williams can prove that he's already in that second tier overall within the NFL. I think it'll be some ups and downs. It's going to be some amazing moments, some really head-scratching moments, but for the most part, I think Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears are really, really going to thrive, and as all you guys know, I have them making the playoffs, so obviously I'm very high on the Chicago Bears. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears? Do you think Caleb will be more likely to be the best or worst in the division? Or just how about just where do you think he can prove to be in the NFL as a whole? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.